You're listening to the audio production of Get Out of That Pit, Straight Talk About God's Deliverance by Beth Moore, published by Thomas Nelson and read by the author.
Introduction. A few days ago, I stood in line for something my Bible study publisher called a meet and greet. I had the joy of hugging at least 150 necks of studio audience members for the Bible study taping we'd just concluded. Laughter and happy testimonies filled the room and flooded my heart. By the time I hugged the last person, however, my mind was spinning from the more private kinds of things they had whispered in my ear. One woman had recently lost a 22-year-old daughter in a car accident. Inconceivably, another just behind her had buried a beloved 3-year-old not long ago. Then I hugged a precious woman with a brightly colored scarf hiding the ravages of breast cancer that had recently metastasized in her brain. Beside her stood her sister, who was doing everything she could not to give way to bitterness. A few minutes later, I hugged the neck of someone battling an eating disorder. Then I embraced a pastor's wife whose husband had recently been invited out of their church. Another person slipped me a piece of paper and whispered, "Just read the note, but not right now." The note was a request for prayer that she would be delivered from a long-term addiction. I stared out the window on the plane ride home and tried to take it all in. There above the clouds and turbulence, I held letters I'd been given open to God as if he could see them better in hands at high altitude. I told him again what I'll tell you. People are hurting. He already knew. I bet you did too. Life can be excruciating, crushing in fact. The sheer magnitude of our worries can press down on our heads until we unknowingly descend into a pit of despair, 1 inch at a time. Something so horrible can happen that we can conclude we'll never be okay again. We can blow it so badly we think God would just as soon we stayed under that dirt and out of his sight. But if we're willing to let truth speak louder than our feelings, and long enough that our feelings finally agree, we can be far more than okay. We can be delivered to a place where the air is crisp, the enemy is whipped, and the view is magnificent. The Bible teaches that there are no lost causes, no permanent pit dwellers except those who refuse to leave. Every person can know the complete redemption of Jesus Christ, purpose for life, and fullness of joy. No, life won't ever be easy, but the trade-off is a spin around planet Earth that actually means something. I am convinced that when the last chapter of each life story is recorded in the annals of heaven, people would rather have lived out their fullness of days with purpose more than painlessness. The words in the coming chapters fell completely fresh on me. As I pray with all my heart, they'll fall on you. They're not revisions of an old message. Each season of my life offers a new lesson, adds a new perspective, and the old fervor burns on and on.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?